Okay, we're good.
All
So,
right, go for it.
Leo, welcome.
Yeah,
Welcome to Upfront Toronto. We're extremely happy that you're here and that you said yes.
thanks
And
for having me.
I'll make the introduction. And just we have Liza, who my partner in crime. And so just for those who don't know you, and I don't know if there are many in the city that don't know you, you're a proud owner and founder of Famiglia-Baldassarre. And if I fucked up the name, tell me. Okay, good.
You're good.
That's
You're
the
good.
Italian Israeli accent.
I like it.
You're born in Montreal, moved to Toronto or north of Toronto, learned how
Yeah.
to cook from your grandmother. So we have something in common. I learned how to bake from my grandmother and aunt also, and that turned out into a business. But
There you go.
enough about me. Then you worked at age 18, which is extremely young, at Splendido. 2007, when you were only 23, went to Italy and worked there, like Michelin star restaurant, and we can talk about it later. 2010, you started manufacturing out of a basement, selling wholesale. And I think around then I met you a couple of times through my brother and your brother. And I remember a lot of bitching, but still you were selling well. And then 2017, Geary Avenue, the famous Geary Avenue. I remember then also meeting you. There was a little more bitching about the city and stuff. And there was common bitching. And yeah, man, now you sold a lot of pasta to the best stores and restaurants in the city. Passion for food is what I saw about your philosophy. And I think you can see it through every social media, and especially through social. It's amazing what you do there. The word cult comes around a few, where people follow you, and I see also the lineups outside your place. And then I curse you, and I'm a little jealous between 12 and 1. And did I miss anything?
No, I mean, it's mostly there. I guess we can get into some more details with some probing questions later, but that's kind of it,
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So yeah, really impressive. So Liza.
All right. So Leo, we're going to start just with kind of the one thing we can't avoid these days, which is basically COVID-19.
Oh yeah.
And we're just, we talk to our guests because it's impacting everyone in their own sort of unique way. But how has it impacted your business? Like what have been the drawbacks? Have there been opportunities? Like what have you learned about yourself through COVID?
Well, I would say, it's all in retrospect now. So, and I mean, it's still ongoing, but in the beginning, it was very much a survivalist mentality. So when things started happening, we started seeing the news. As a business, we sat down with the staff and we said, okay, look, we're facing a bit of an existential crisis right now. What do you guys want to do as a staff? Do you want to work? Do you not want to work? My opinion for myself was, look, guys, you guys do what you're comfortable with, but I feel the responsibility to work right now. We have food. We have the ability to purchase food, store food, cook food, process it, ship it, sell it, give it away. We have right now in a situation like this, I feel like, food is an essential item, and we have the ability to get it to the people in ways that are easy, safe, and abundant. So I just felt a bit responsible in some way that we could do something with what we have here. It's not just about maintaining the business. Obviously, that's very important. You want to survive. Your livelihood is this thing you protect because it's how you live. But you also feel protective over your staff and giving them a livelihood. And then you feel, I think at the beginning, especially, there was an immense sense of community and this kind of we're all in it together mentality, which, for better or worse, has faded over time. Now everybody's kind of in it for, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. What percentage of your staff came back once you kept?
We never closed.
No, but did everybody continue working with you, or did anybody like withdraw?
It was tricky. So right in the beginning, I had one of my staff members, one of my key pasta makers on the fresh pasta, was in India for his brother's wedding, and he got stuck in India. He actually was stuck in India for 3 months. So he came back in June. I think he came back in June. And one of my staff members, who was my chef at the time, he was living with his parents, and his parents were freaking out. He's like, I don't think it's good if I work here right now. So we came up with a solution. I said, Mike, whatever you want to do, I'm comfortable with. But if you're into it, if you still want to work, there's the option to come in off hours when we're not here. So you can help us with prep and getting stuff together and ordering and all that stuff. And he was totally down. So Mike did like 3 months of night shift, where he would come in when we closed. You know, he'd show up with the mask on, gloves, and like Lysol wipes in his hand. And
so now that you're all
walked out.
together, right? That is he still at that mode, or he's
Yeah,
done?
well, Mike actually left us in November. He quit. And then see, that's the evolution of COVID. In the beginning, there was this one mentality. It started to get to a point where you started to see it really weigh down on people's mental health and really start to change people's plans and ideas for what they want in their life. And I saw people that were cooking for months cooking for years and seeing a career in cooking just say, screw this. I don't want to do this. You know, Mike went into doing construction.
Did
You
it
know,
make
last time I
you
saw him-
did it make you think any differently? Do you have any
Of course.
major conclusions?
I mean,
or-
look, I've thought, you know, and I think when you're running a business, much as you know, like you get to many points in running a business where you consider what the alternatives are, because it is very hard. So there's, even before COVID, I mean, there'd be times when I'm like, why did I decide to do this? Like twice the work for half the pay. I could get a job somewhere. Maybe I'll go back to school. I don't know. But, you know, COVID made me not think of that less. I think, like I said, COVID made you really just sit in the moment. You couldn't plan anything. And still, to this day, you can't plan anything.
well, you can't run away either, right?
You can't run away. You can't do anything. I can't change careers. I can't go on vacation. I can't, figure my life out and take a break. It's like, it is what it is. You are in the moment, dealing with the news cycle, dealing with your staff, dealing with your own mental health, with the mental health of people around you, with your family. I mean, it's a big, cluster of crap that it's been very hard, and it's evolved so much over the past years. The feelings in the beginning were very different. I mean, we were in a full-on panic in the beginning. Anxiety was so high, but it was the feeling of battle. You know, it was high anxiety, but we were all really pushing together and helping each other out. I remember.
Did people still come in like at the same volume at the beginning, like the first month?
More. So
Is it because they just found you like as being a center and close to home and safer? And why do you think it was more?
Well, there was an initial phase where people were hoarding like crazy. I mean, people were coming in spending $400 in one shot because they thought they were never going to leave their house for the next 4 months.
Were they asking you for flour also?
Okay, funny story. So we bought a lot of supplies at the beginning of COVID because we said, okay, we see the way people are shopping. We need to become more of a provisions shop. The wholesale business died overnight. We went from 50-60% wholesale to 0% wholesale. And then all of a sudden we became this purveyor of goods to the public, and people were coming in buying bags of beans, rice, flour, sugar, salt, vegetables, milk, dairy. So this stuff that I can't sell now if I put it up for free. At that time, I was selling like 1,000 kilos of flour every couple of weeks.
Well, they bought a year's supply of flour, right?
I was buying skids and skids of bread flour, and then and yeast. Oh my God, people! I would post on Instagram, "Hey, I have this yeast right now." You know, it's just like the SAF instant.
Yeah.
And people would show up right before we close in a sweat, saying, "I saw you guys had yeast. I can't find it anywhere. I need yeast."
Do you know what's funny? I did the same thing on Instagram. I had extra from we use fresh yeast, and I had the blocks of instant yeast, and there were 10 of them, but they're like massive, and we couldn't use them. And so I'm like, who wants yeast? And then within a few hours, they was gone, and I also delivered to them. It was a nice experience. Yeah, cool.
Do you find that different now that the buying habits from 10 months ago to now have very much changed?
Now, we have the US also, so thank God the US is coming back to normal, and we're seeing a bigger change there. Like, I think the good news is the US is going back to normal, and so we're going to be there in a month and a half. and
Yeah.
people are going out to restaurants and cafes and everything, and all our customers there who use our product are buying it now again. So it's ramping up.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I know it's a question that nobody really likes to answer now, but do you feel like we're going to be back to normal in a month and a half?
I see my friends on Instagram in the US, and I'm like, yeah, I'm keep clean language, but I'm so jealous. I'm so fucking jealous.
Oh, I know, man.
They're
Yeah.
in Santa Monica on the beach. I have a really good friend in Maui. He said he runs a luxury hotel, 90%, $1,000 a night. This is the best April they ever had. So I think we're gonna definitely, I know Americans go big, but Canadians won't be far behind, I think. Maybe
I hope so. I hope this summer is very much not one like last summer where we just pretended to forget about it for a while, but one where we're actually on the, you know, on the uphill.
Yeah, no, I think it will be.
Do you find, Leo, that it has sort of stabilized a little in its instability? Like,
no,
it's still up and down.
Not for my business, not for my personal life, not for, you know, what I see in my friends in the industry. You know, I'm on the small side of the food industry. You know, I'm very small. You know, I'm a store with 7 employees. I have friends with restaurants that range from 20 to 40 employees on a normal. I have one with 2, and it definitely, for a lot of us, it is not stabilized. If anything, it's just this continual fog that we're navigating through, where you cannot see land ever, and when you think you see land, it's an illusion, you know, because something else drops. I mean, now we're in our 3rd lockdown, major lockdown, and then followed by a stay-at-home order right after we had patios open for 8 days. I mean, you can't plan. You really can't. So
we didn't even open the patio because, you know, it's gonna bounce. Like, you know, there's no stability. Said you can take and sit outside, but we're not serving you.
Well, look, and fair enough. I probably wouldn't have either, but I know a lot of people that, you know, don't have as well diversified businesses.
Yeah.
Where that patio is like, they'd rather open a patio for a week than not, because
one day will give you a whole, like, amazing returns. Yeah.
They're losing money every day. You know, and my buddy owns a pizzeria. The pizzeria loses money every single day. Just the wood to fire up the oven doesn't make up for the sales.
Yeah, people don't think about that, right? They see everything. They see all the shiny things, the lineups, whatever. They don't see the back of the house and the money that goes out just to keep it open.
I gotta tell you, one of the things that bothers me, that the things that bum me out the most is, we have a lineup at our store here and there, not infrequently. Why? Because we only one person in the store at a time can come in, because it's such a small store. So people will see 2 people outside and be like, I was gonna come shopping there, but you're way too busy for me and I don't have the time. And you guys are so successful and all this. Like,
no, I hear you. Yeah,
that's not success. Just because there's 2 people waiting outside, that doesn't mean I'm busy. You know, so people get that idea, and there's both the idea that we're really busy, and also that kind of attitude of like, I don't have the time to wait 5 to 10 minutes. Yet the same people will go to Walmart and there's a lineup around the store at Walmart, or they'll go to the bank and wait in the bank lineup for 10 minutes, or sorry, more than that. Sometimes 40 minutes. Last time I went to the bank, it was about 40 minutes before I got into the bank, and there were 6 people in front of me.
I think you should have a marker though, then, for time, because I'm always, you know, I drive by, I ride my bike now there a lot, and I see it, but you need maybe a mark telling them how long it will be. Maybe you're doing it. I don't know.
Like
when you stand here, it's
yes. Like 45 minutes from this point.
Yes, and you can, you know, embellish a little, shorten it. You know, at the 10 minutes, say it's 5 minutes.
I have some customers that come in the store that take 40 minutes, and we're just like, you know, we're trying not to be like, hey, there's some people in line, because we want people to have just a really good experience when they come in. We don't want to cram COVID down everybody's throat when they come in the store. There's already enough of that, you know, all the signage, don't touch this, stay behind the glass, 1 person at a time, you know. So we try to give people at least the experience that after waiting for 10, 15 minutes to come into our store, the store is yours. Come inside, smell the smells, see the sights, watch us make pasta, decide what you want, have a conversation with us. You know, I don't want to, we try not to rush people too much, to give them at least some semblance of normalcy.
Well,
So-
I think for them to have a chance to get the sense and feeling of your story, go on Instagram. I swear to God, I can smell the food through it. How you
Thanks,
talk
man.
about it, it's amazing. It's very unique, and I think you know that, but it's very impressive. You convey. I saw you, and I know I'm sorry, Liza, I'm just all over the place, but I saw you making gnocchi today, and I
Yeah.
loved
Yeah.
like I love the explanation where there's the flour and then there's the rice, potatoes, and you're not folding it, but you're kind of breaking it in and
Yeah.
not to develop the gluten. And I'm like, I know what it is to develop gluten, because in bread you're developing it all the time.
Of course.
You don't overdevelop it, but here you're developing it just a little. And I'm like, holy shit, that I have to have it now. So I admit the lineups kind of deter me also.
They
And,
deter everybody. Look, I'm
yeah.
deterred from lineup too
Yeah,
on
yeah.
a normal day, but now I understand them more.
Of course.
A
It's a matter of,
lineup.
sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say a lineup now is not an indication of something being overhyped or this is gonna take forever. A lineup now is what is necessary for businesses to survive.
Every
You know,
coffee
there-
shop that I respect in the city, if you don't like, it's a 10-minute stand for a espresso, and
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Because at the end of the day, that's also a good point. When people are like, I'm not into the lineup, I don't like it, or they have comments about it. It's like, if there were not a lineup there, that business would not be surviving right now. If there were not 5 people there waiting to buy pasta right now, that place would be dead. It would have a sign up on the window saying for lease. Like, that's the reality. So it's this double-edged sword of like, and I've learned to kind of just forget about it a bit. It's just like, you know what, the people that want it will wait, and I'm sure I'll talk. And look, when people say there's a lineup, it's never it's never a bad conversation or a negative conversation. It's like a conversation I would have with you, where you're like, oh, I was coming by, I had a couple minutes, but there was a line. It's that type of thing. So I don't take it too personally, but it's frustrating in the sense that now we rely on that. Where I had a wholesale business before, it's like, now if there's 4 or 5 people outside at all times, I know I'm okay. Whereas when it's just dead and all I can hear is the bird chirpings and the door's wide open and one person,
that is the worst feeling ever.
Yeah, you know it.
I know
it's not a good feeling.
I know it. I
It
banged my
feels
head
terrible.
against the wall a lot. Okay,
You
so
start
let's move on and
Yeah.
move on to career. So we divide this into 3. We'll talk about a little about your career, a little about where you come from, and then a little about the city, Toronto, because
Sure.
we love the city. So what was like? I find that, what was your first job? I find that first jobs say a lot about people, and that means where you get paid for it.
My first job, I mean, if I want to go really far back, it was probably demolition. I think I was like 14, and my stepdad had a little Italian cafe right next to a construction site, and it was during the summer, and he's like, hey, you want, like, basically, I forget how the job was offered, but it's like, you can go carry a wheelbarrow at this construction site however many hours a day. I think I did that when I was 13 or 14.
Before you worked at your father's cafe, or?
I never worked at my stepdad's cafe. No, that was I never worked there. What I did
How'd you
after
get out of
that,
that? How did you get out of that?
I don't know. It was just never a thing. And I think it's because, my parents my mom had just gotten remarried and I was young. I don't know. It was never really an option. I mean, I look back on it, maybe it should have been, but what I did after that, I think I worked at Mr. Sub when I was 16. No, sorry. I worked at a banquet hall first, setting up dining rooms on the weekends. And then I worked at Mr. Sub, and that was my first kind of, paid job.
Real job.
Yeah.
Did you like it? Did you like the interaction with the consumers?
I loved it. I was already pretty good in the kitchen. So when I went to Mr. Sub, the manager there was like so amazed that I could use a knife, that I was cutting cucumbers without the chain glove on, and I was cutting them nice.
You mean the cucumbers don't come pre-cut at Mr. Sub?
They probably do now. When I worked at Mr. Sub, the tuna was like clover leaf tuna in a can. The onions you'd cut the tomatoes, all of that. And then by the time I left Mr. Sub, and I only worked there, God knows, less than a year, the tuna started coming in buckets already pre-mixed. The onions were pre-sliced in flushed bags, like the whole bit. It changed completely while I worked there.
Well,
and that was on the highway.
See
You
what
ever
you
worked-
did to them.
I know. It was the you know the Mr. Subs that are on the highway at the on the kind of en route locations,
Yes,
and the travel stops with the
that's high volume. Yeah.
yeah. I used to drive up to King. My mom used to go drop me off up on King Road. It took her like half an hour to drive me to work, and I would do an 8-hour shift there, and then she'd come pick me up at the end of the night. And
Yeah, I think I know
was-
that stopover. Yeah.
yeah.
So what is the best advice, business advice you've ever received? And then after that, what's the best advice you can give someone for business?
Oh man, this is a big one. I probably wouldn't give you a good answer now. One thing that comes right to my mind right away is when I got into it. As soon as I started my business, I was a sole proprietor, and I hired an accountant who's more like a business guru coach, and he's still my accountant to this day. He's incredible. His name is Yoram, and he told me on the first day when I was, telling him all about my business, everything I wanted to do. He's like, I'm going to stop you right there, Leo. You need to stop thinking you're a pasta maker. You're not a pasta maker. You are a businessman who happens to make good pasta, and you need to put the one before the other right away.
So what did you take from that? That you need to be profitable?
Just to understand that being proficient or technically gifted or prodigious or talented or artistic in a craft does not translate to a successful business. Successful business takes, and I took that really seriously. And when I find a mentor that I really believe in, that's another piece of advice, is like surround yourself with people that are great mentors, that have great experience and that are models of what you want to become.
Yeah.
And that's what I did in the beginning. And Yoram showed me a lot of that. And he when he told me that, I really took seriously the numbers part of it. And I hated math. I was never good at math. I hated school. I dropped out of high school. But all of a sudden, I was on my computer every night, spreadsheets. I learned spreadsheets. I was doing every single transaction, every penny that I spent, I would plug into different spreadsheets. All my costing of all my items. I printed out these little cards at my shop that when I would do a pasta recipe, I would put the time it took, the ingredients by weight, everything. And so yeah. I really baked it in early in my company, the importance of being profitable and not just throwing your money out for the sake of doing something great.
Do you know what it reminds me? Udi, do you know Udi's? Udi's is the biggest gluten-free manufacturer in North America. They make gluten-free bread. Nicest guy, and we were friends. They're out of Colorado, out of Denver. And they have also a bunch of restaurants, and they started their business making sourdough originally. And he said, Alon, it's not a challenge to have a busy restaurant and make really good food. You need to make really good food, have a busy restaurant, and be successful money-wise. And you have to make a profit. He said anybody can make good food and not make a profit and fill a restaurant. He said that's easy. That third element for the business, and it sounds as if it goes in line with what Yoram told you.
100%.
When we opened the store at first, a million years ago at Young and Wellesley, I was undercharging people for everything. I just wanted them to like it. I just wanted to see them smile and eat. And at the end of the day, you're working like a fucking dog for not a lot of money, and it's not worth it.
Yeah. Well, were you giving it away too? You weren't just underselling it. Weren't you giving it away? You got taken off cash.
I was taken off cash. Yeah. I was taken off cash by my ex-wife, and that was the best call.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That's another business lesson I learned, Alon, that was very important. And this actually was from a convenience store owner who used to work close by. I don't know if this is when I was at Splendido. Anyway, he told me generosity is extremely important in a business. And I don't know why that stuck with me. But I realized that you can still be generous in a business, very, very, very generous at the right times, at opportune moments when it just feels right, and be okay to part with, $200-300 worth of stuff, or whatever it is, or your time, generous with your time, and it pays back in dividends.
I think you need to like people. Like in this business, if you don't like people, they'll feel it. If you like people, they'll come back.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. So generosity is important too.
So that's
I
your
don't think
advice for
I hear
people?
you there. Well, I think both are important. You can, good business isn't just about every penny, and making sure that you're maximizing profits at every opportunity, because that's shrewd, and that's also can be perceived as greedy
Yeah.
and opportunistic. And part of business is also how you interact with the public and interact with people, and you can't hide who you are. So being yourself, and being generous, and being true to yourself at times where, integrity is about being able to do the right thing, even if it's not to your benefit in any given moment.
Yeah.
And that's important. Integrity is so important too. Being true to yourself, and look, if true to yourself is you just want to buy a Bugatti Veyron as soon as possible, and you're not going to stop at anything to get it, then sure, that's you. And if that's your brand, great. But for me, it's yeah, another piece of business advice. Now that we're talking about it, I know this was maybe supposed to be a short answer, but
No, we're good.
it's
We're good.
it's be yourself. Be yourself. Try, and if you're going to start a business and be an entrepreneur, try as best as possible to imbue your personality and yourself into the business as much as possible. If it's going to be a career, if it's going to be something that you're going to put everything into, make it an expression of yourself, because then it's going to come out easy. Everything
Well,
you do, the advertising, the food, whatever it is, it comes out easy because it's coming out of you. You're not trying to be anything.
yeah.
You know,
You're not thinking about what will they think of me. You just are you. And I
you're
find
just you.
also you'll notice how the same recipe, when two different people make it, the food will come out differently.
Mhm.
And so that energy that you convey, how you carry yourself, will affect the flavor, the texture, that even it's something you can't put your finger on.
Yeah, I agree.
So
And
I agree, like having a good atmosphere. Like you guys look like you're having, I don't say a party, but it looks like you're all friends in there.
it's
And
a very tight crew, and I let them kind of express themselves and be themselves, right? And that's not always been the case. I used to be a micromanager, like the worst micromanager, right? Because it's so protective over all the hard work put in. And I've
mhm.
learned to let go of that a bit, and really just trust in the spirit and ability of these people around you that want to work hard for you.
Yeah, but
So you
they
just
really
get,
need to know what you like. You need to be not a stickler, but you need to be to have no compromises. And they need to know that.
yes, the culture has to be one of, look, we're here to have fun and work. And I always said that to my staff, the people that I hire. I said, look, I want to have a good time here because we're here a lot. So when we're here, I want it to be fun. I want it to be expressive and great and all of that. But this place only exists if we're the best at what we do. So don't forget that when you're cutting that onion, or putting that sauce together. When I'm not around and I have my back turned and I'm not in the shop, you guys need to carry that commitment to excellence at all times. And if you can do that effortlessly, you will have a great time here. If you can't, it might not be a great
Yeah, it's a
spot
matter
for
of
you.
a fit. It's not even changing
Yeah.
people. Either they fit or they don't. So, Leo, what inspires you? Like,
You
what's
know,
their source of inspiration?
that's a good one too. I think people, I tend to, as my career continues, I tend to surround myself with people that, like I said before, you find people that you model after, or people that make you want to be better at what you do. So, you know, I'm lucky to have just a community of great people around me in the industry, whether it be Bar Ape, the ice cream joint, who, is a guy who runs his business like nothing. They run the business not like I would run the business, but I admire it. I admire, there's elements of it that I'm like, I wish I could do that, and I love that, and it inspires me in terms of the branding, or in terms of how they deal with the public and stuff like that. How strong and integral they are. Or Konzo's Pizzeria and Sugo. I've become very close with them during the pandemic, especially with all the charity stuff we've been doing together.
Yeah,
And
I've seen that.
just to see that they showed me how important community is above all else. It made me kind of separate myself a little bit from this idea of just being like the best pasta maker I could be, and so quality driven, to being like, that's less important than you think. That almost half of the battle is being really in tune with the community, and making the community feel like they're part of your success and part of your business. And I mean, no one does that better than Sugo. I mean, Sugo is the essence of a community spot. You go there because of that. That is your number one reason to go. And
their food has love in it. There is something there that's outstanding.
They're a community joint. They are Bloordale through and through. I mean, it's you know, when you say this place is the heart of a community, they're a beating heart of like Lansdowne and Bloor. It's what it is.
So Leo, what was and I'm sorry, I'm just trying to we're gonna run through this. No, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. What's the lowest point of your career?
The lowest point of my career.
Yes. Because we see people see in business people, they always see, as I said, like the successes, they see the lineups, they see your community. I mean, people know you in the city. If I drop your name anywhere, I'd say 4 times out of 5, they'll know who you are, or your business at least, and have a very positive opinion.
Yeah, well, look, I mean,
so I want to see the other side.
There's one thing to be said there that, you know, just because people know who we are, and a lot of that has to do with social media, there's always the duality, and there's a flip side to that, right? I would say this year, I've had a few of probably the lowest points of my career, you know?
Can you describe one of them, just so we can, because I think when we share the lower points, people know they're not alone when they go through similar experiences, especially someone who's a leader within their industry. Yeah. If that's okay with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we had, you know, just this past year, I would say just the overall anxiety and the navigating through all of the difficulties of this year that came with COVID. I think that was extremely taxing. It was extremely taxing on my personal relationship, you know, my girlfriend of a couple of years, the relationship just buckled under the pressure of the entire thing. And that was a really low point, and which I'm still getting over. And it's like one of these things that the pressure of running a business in the food industry right now, it's so hard to not take that home and to not let it affect every other aspect of your life, because every day is something else. Somebody quit, one of your staff got COVID, you got to close for 2 weeks.
Did you have to close for 2 weeks? We had to close twice for 10 days.
I had to close. Yeah, I did a closure. You know, one of my staff members disappearing for 3 months, being stuck in India, and me having to cover for him. The overall anxiety of having people coming in and out of the shop and dealing with your staff's anxiety, you know, and then going home with that pinching in your chest.
Well, it's all on you, right? At the end of the day, you're the captain there. You have to make it happen. Yeah.
It was just personally this year, it was probably one of the toughest. We had to deal with, you know, the Marinair boys. As a group, we were doing a lot of donations. At the beginning of the pandemic, we were donating to hospitals, frontline workers, fire departments, police departments. We were doing that from March, April, May, June, around there.
How does that anxiety show itself for you?
Oh man, well, I guess there's so much instability in this field right now in working with food. You don't know what's coming next. You know, we talk about, oh, it's going to be great in the summer. We don't know that. We don't know if there's not going to be another 3rd wave, 4th wave, new variant in October, shut it down again, everybody. So sorry, not sorry. Like, we don't know. So it's so nebulous. And when you can't see 10 feet in front of you, it's very destabilizing. And it gives you this feeling of zero control over your immediate surroundings. And it's terrifying, because that means you have no control over your future, your happiness, your family. Where are you going to be? Where are you going to live? I mean, it's such a destabilizing feeling. Before COVID, I knew exactly where I wanted to be and what I wanted to do. Right. And it's just been this continuous roller coaster ride of like, I think I got a grip on this. No, I don't. I think I got a grip on this. No, I don't. I think I got a grip. No, I don't.
Leo, so I think it just so you know, sorry, like US is bouncing back. We have cousins in England. They're bouncing back. We have family.
We will eventually.
We have family in Israel. They're bouncing back. They're all, the restaurants are filling. People are going out, and we need each other. We need community. We need that. Like we haven't had it for a year or more than a year. And I think people are going bananas because of that. And I think that we as a community within the food industry that hosts people we will be, I really think so. A friend of mine from LA, from New York, said the meat packing district 2 weeks ago was full. And that's just
Oh, I
because of
believe it.
because of their vaccine. No, but even Americans, but
Oh
because of
no,
the
because
vaccine
because they're
effort.
so far ahead with the vaccines. We're just so slow here. No,
Exactly.
they've done a good job. They've done a great job. Yeah,
Okay.
anyway, to say, there's been a lot this year. Obviously, there's other points in the career that were low. I mean, it's all about based on perspective. I've had times in my career starting my business where, I had a machine break that cost me $10,000 and I thought that was going to sink my business and I was freaking out about it. Or, you lose a staff member or whatever. My first staff member I ever lost, I was so traumatized. I remember talking to Guy about it. I'm like, Guy, I don't know what I'm going to do. I had my whole future planned with this staff member. We're going to do this. And then he just left,
Yeah.
and Guy's like,
But-
they're going to
but-
come in.
But now when you lose a person, it's a different response, right? Yeah.
Well, because it's happened so many times. Now it's just like you condition yourself to just be like, it's not personal. Everyone has their own life. They're gonna do what they want. You can't, I'm very young as a business. I'm 11 years into a business, so I'm still learning all these things. And staffing, it was one of the hardest because I cling on to people. I care about them a lot, and I want to give them a lot, and I want to get the same back. And you start to manage your expectations a little better with staff as you go on.
Okay, Leo,
So you get
where do you
attached
see?
to them? You get attached to them? Your
Oh, yeah.
teams?
Yeah, big time.
Hmm.
My team, I get super attached to because we work together. We have no shifts. So I really wanted to create a workplace and this is once again, a bad business decision because there should be shifts starting there at 6 a.m. and all the way till 10 p.m.
Say, wait,
But
when you say you don't have shifts, what does that mean? Like,
that means that there's no shift work, as in I don't have overlapping groups of people working for me. We're open 5 days a week and we're there from 8 to 5.
okay.
So there's a lot of downtime in the shop where nobody's making anything or doing anything because we're all there together at the same time, all the time. So because of that, we're so close and so in sync and so in tune, and we can keep quality very high, but also you're making way less money than you could potentially make. So
I think
it's
Yoram needs to talk to you again.
I know, not, a lot of people need to talk to me about that one, but that one, that's one of the things I need to start to let go of and start to accept. Okay, if you want to get to some next level here, you have to start accepting, not being around and having this place run without you and having different teams of people doing different things on off hours, because you just need to raise the productivity by the hour. I mean, 44 hours of work out of a week out of a production facility is not enough, really. So yeah.
Given, let's say COVID isn't happening. So let's say 1 week before COVID, where would you see your business in 5 years? Do you know now? Or do you have an idea?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've always envisioned buying my own facility, buying my own building and being able to expand into it on a greater scale. I want to maintain an eatery always, because it is such an important creative outlet. It's such a beautiful creative outlet to be able to really get, especially for the staff, to be able to put all that work into a product and then see people eat it and get the immediate reaction. I mean, that's kind of what makes cooks. That's why you do it. It's like your mom cooking food. They cook it for you. They want to put it in your mouth. They want to say, how was it? And they want to see you smile and say, that was delicious. It's kind of inside us to want that. So the eatery is such an important thing for me, always will be. But I've always wanted the production to grow. I've wanted to expand the production to potentially US market, first, obviously, maybe province wide, maybe Quebec, getting a shelf stable, maybe frozen stable product that can be packed and shipped to multiple markets, but also have an incredibly high quality and still have a handmade element to it. I still want to be making ravioli like we do now, but I've always envisioned scaling that up, and that's where I've been growing towards. But it is exceptionally hard to do that and maintain a quality. So
I think, well, there are times that you need to give up like that 5% quality in order to get that volume. Sometimes actually you can have better quality when you build machinery that is exactly to your specification. So you're not going just shopping for whatever's out there, and you kind of, so we've done it. And sometimes when we automated some of our products, we we had better control over humidity, over everything, rather than doing it by hand. So,
Yeah.
and you have different people doing it by hand, so you'll have get different products sometimes. So that can be attained, but yeah, it's a tricky equation.
It's big. Well, they're big steps. Those are big financial steps as well, you know, when you're building custom lines and all that kind of stuff. And well, I've spoken to Guy about it at length because, you know, like I was saying before, I surround myself with people that kind of inspire me. I mean, you guys are one of them.
So just for the record, guys, my brother and partner in our commercial bakery and parallel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So when I went to Ozeri Bakery, I was blown away. I was like, this is amazing. I mean, that from that day, seeing that those images and that production has been imprinted in my mind, and it showed me what is possible if you can get to those levels and engineer machinery and make something specific to make something exactly the way that you want. You know, I wish I was an engineer. If I can go back and do 10 years of school over again to engineer my own machinery, I would.
You have Guy's really good with machines and planning and all that. He's amazing. So I know he's available for you.
For sure. But that was the next step. I wanted to have a bigger facility producing more product for wholesale and different markets, but maintain the eatery as, you know, a staple. It's one of those places I want to be around when I'm long gone. I want to be gray haired, fat and old, and, you know, people being like, oh, if you go pasta, you got to go to Baldassarre. You know, that's the place to go get a plate of pasta, you know, for the next 20, 30, 40 years. You know, that's important to me because those are the places that I love. And
okay, you have to promise though, you're not leaving Geary Avenue.
Eventually, if I can afford a building on Geary, I'll stay. But I mean, the reality is I'll get priced out eventually. So unless I can buy a building on Geary, you know, it's going to be a finite amount of time unless I buy a building on Geary. So,
yeah. Okay. We'll try.
Who knows where you're going to end up?
Yeah, you never know.
Okay. So we'll move to personal. Yes.
Yeah. We'll turn it to a little personal, but I just wanted to, and this is probably a little bit more business, but I have to know, like, how did you get into pasta? Like, why pasta? Is it because that's what you grew up making with your family, or?
Well, the reason pasta is actually less, it's a less than kind of important type of answer, I would say. What happened is when I came back from Italy, so I moved to Italy, I lived there for 3 years and I worked in fine dining. And after that, I realized I didn't want to do fine dining anymore. I came back to Canada. Now, I came back to Canada not because I really wanted to open a business here. It was because of kind of missing friends and family. You know, I would have stayed in Italy for the rest of my life. So I came back and I didn't want to work. I just kind of had this idea crystallized that's like, I can't really work for anybody else because I've been I think every entrepreneur kind of gets to that point. There's a point where you're just like, I can't do it. I can't go work in another kitchen, cook somebody else's food. And so I got to that point and I realized, well, what am I going to do? I'm not going to open a restaurant. I don't have the money to do that. And I also want the quality of life that I experienced in Italy, which is, you know, I had weekends, I had some evenings off. It was just a better quality of life than the cooking life here in Canada.
Right.
So I said, okay, well, let's make something. And it could have been anything. I thought about making salumi. I thought about making wine. It could have been any product. I just saw a window with pasta and I had experience in it, but I was by no means a pasta maker when I started my business. I knew I was good with food kind of all round because I was a cook. So I picked a product that I just really wanted to focus on and I saw an opportunity with pasta and that's where that started. But it wasn't like a full-on dream of doing only pasta.
Right.
It could have been anything that really represented what I was trying to bring back, which was more about the feel and the lifestyle that surrounds that cultural kind of food experience. So it could have been a few things. It could have been a small restaurant or an eatery. It just started as pasta and I started selling it to restaurants as just to get started. It was basically like I was bored and I needed something to do. I started selling pasta to some of my old friends that worked in restaurants. And then it just kind of took off. It snowballed. I didn't expect it to become what it did.
And when did you know it was going to work? Like, when were you like, hey, this is going to work?
I mean, I don't know. I just kind of stuck with it because I had nothing else. My first year, I think I made $18,000 gross. My second year, I made $32,000 gross. That's gross sales. So, I mean, it's nothing. I was living with my mom in her basement And then the third year I made 52. And then I was like, oh,
We're in the right direction.
Yeah,
going
but
in the
that
right-
wasn't overnight. That was hard work, and you had
Sure.
direction. That was really hard work.
Yeah, I was working by myself those first years. I was just in the basement, no machinery. I had a table and a fridge and a sink, and I was just bringing the stuff. I would make, 300-400 ravioli, a couple boxes of tagliatelle, and go drive them around the city.
Right.
And I did that 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and then I got the opportunity with a big restaurant account, which had 4 restaurants, and they proposed to make a ton of orders. They said we're gonna 650 ravioli a day every day across all restaurants. I was like, holy shit. I was like, how am I gonna do this? So then I incorporated. I hired my first staff member, and that's when it kind of took off. I took my first loan, bought equipment, renovated the basement. I did all for the year 3. I made all the jumps. I
Right.
spent money I didn't have. I hired somebody and I incorporated, and
Gotcha.
then that was the point where I was like, okay, I'm committing to this now because,
You've committed everything to it. There was no way,
Right.
no
We're
way
already-
back,
we're already
right?
here.
Yeah. So
We're
you had to
already here,
jump
yeah.
in.
And
So-
seeing the way people react to the product so positively, that also kept it going, right? There was always such a positive response to the product, so that's what kept me in.
Right.
If it was very difficult, if there were a lot of people saying this sucks, I don't know, I don't want it, I might not have went as far as I did, but there was always a positive response to the product, not the price, but the product.
Well, the product is what counts. So what are some key lessons you learned from your parents? Like, where does this work ethic come from is what I'm wondering. Is this something from your parents? Where did this come from?
Yeah, I think so. I think, my parents divorced when I was really young. I was 8 years old, and it was a pretty messy divorce. And my mom moved with my brother and I to Toronto, and my mom didn't have much of an education, didn't have really 2 legs to stand on. She was 33 years old, I think, 2 young boys, 8 and 9 years old. And she got a job at, we grew up in Montreal, but we moved to Toronto. So we had no friends around. She had her cousins here. That was it. She got a job as an administrative assistant, a secretary, for $18,000 a year at Wrigley, Canada, which I thought was the coolest because it was like free gum all the time.
Woo-hoo.
Just rolls of bubble bubble, like not even
Right,
cut.
right.
Yeah, I told all my friends.
Where's the Wrigley's factory? Do you know? Is it in
I don't
just on
remember.
Sterling there? Oh, okay. I was wondering.
I honestly, I do not remember. We were living in Maple, and we were in a basement apartment for about 3 years, and my mom was making $18,000 a year. But she went to right away. She started going to night school. She was going to work every day, going to night school every night, getting babysitters for us. And she was going to night school and weekend classes and working pretty much for my entire childhood until eventually she got into human resources. And to this, now she's 63 years old. Her last job that she had before she retired from that job, she was making like 160, 180 grand a year as the director of human resources for a major cosmetics company. So like to see someone start as a secretary with 2 young kids that had 0 legs to stand on, go to just building themselves up with 0 help, buying a house. She bought her first house 3 years into living up here, bought her second house 3 years after that. And just, it continued. So I think my mother is one of the biggest inspirations of someone that, like there is nothing you cannot do. If you really have to, you'll do it, and you could do it. So my mom was a massive inspiration. Obviously my grandparents being the immigrant generation, they came here with nothing, and they instilled a lot of that in me too. Right.
Yeah.
There are people that came with nothing and also made something of themselves. But my mom's story, I think she faced a little more adversity, and it was tough. And she
she was alone, really. She had you guys, but she was really doing it on her own.
She was alone.
Brilliant.
She remarried the one time, and that marriage didn't work out. But she did her best, man. She never stopped, and she had a rough go. She had a real rough go, and I don't remember her being always the happiest, but she did it for us. To see that amount of tenacity,
yes,
and perseverance, I think.
Oh my goodness.
It sticks with you, right?
Yeah.
So
that's really inspiring to hear. It's I think you always hear these stories from successful people that it wasn't always easy.
No, I don't think it is. I don't think, you know, you see it happen a lot with companies that are already they start already on that fifth or sixth tier, you know, companies that start where it's just like brands and ideas and a lot of investment and stuff like that. You know, a lot of companies kind of start up like startups, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a total, you know, I know a lot of people in startup now because I've lived in Toronto a while. And it's like, it's such a different world. It's such a different world from like those kind of tech type brand type companies to like, you know, just sitting there with your hands and making something out of nothing and starting with this one piece and making it 2 and then 3 and then 4 and then 10 and then 40. I mean, it's a very different
and an organic growth versus leaps and bounds. I don't understand the tech world. Honestly, I'm such a, I don't get it. I don't get the stock market either. I know how to make
I'm the
same sell, and that's it. I don't know.
Because it intentionally doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to make sense.
It's not supposed to. I think manufacturing, maybe for someone like Alon and myself, like manufacturing just makes sense.
Yeah. I don't get like not a factory, a brand selling for, I don't know, $10 million. And then they're on them in the stock market, they're worth $100 million. I just don't get it. The math doesn't add up to me, but they get it.
Yeah, I mean, some people get it because they get rich off it, but
very rich.
I guess not people like us, but I'm okay with that. I'm comfortable with that.
Yes, me too.
So your mom, so speaking of your mom, and she's working really hard. And so when you were a teenager, what was one of the dumbest things you ever did as a teenager?
Oh man.
Just one.
Drunk driving. That was one. Not proud of that one.
But you made it out of it.
Yeah, no one was hurt. I mean, super lucky, right? You look back on it and it's like, I can't believe I did that, right? But you know, sometimes you learn hard lessons, because the one downside for a single mother is that there's a bit of absenteeism there that has to take place in order for her to make her career happen. So my brother and I were kind of left to our own devices. So we got in a lot of trouble that my mom never knew about. Like I was heavy into drugs, not like super bad drugs, but in high school, like from grade 9, I started smoking. I was smoking pot. I was dropping out of classes. You know, you're just, I was just being like the worst kid, you know? So I did a lot of stupid stuff when I was younger. And whenever I did get caught here and there, you know, it would suck because my mom, I would feel terrible. Right. But my mom
guilt.
The thing is, my mom also, I think, had a lot of guilt of the situation that we grew up in too. So we could always kind of convince my mom as well, say, oh, it wasn't my fault. This happened, that happened. And then she would kind of believe us. Right. So we knew how to
manipulate. She's going to know everything, Leo.
You guilt tripped her early ages. I once, even, you know what, that's, I think it happens to everyone. When we were kids, I locked my youngest brother outside of the house, and he was very hot-headed, Aaron. Now he looks like he can walk on water because he's so calm. But he got so mad at me, he took a hammer and he banged holes into the door. And then we freaked out from that, and we put stickers on the door, on the exterior door, and my parents never found out that he made holes in the wall. So anyways.
Well, wow, that's pretty tame. That's pretty tame, Alan. That was like a Saturday for me. We put holes in the walls every weekend. My mom would get so upset. I'd just get mad. We'd fight, and like I'd just punch holes in the wall.
And that's since then you know how to plaster a wall properly.
Oh,
right?
I am great at patching drywall. I'm telling you, I got very good at it. Put the whole 2x4 behind it. You know, tape it perfectly. The sand job. I'm amazing at it.
Wow, good to know. So Leo, what did you want to be when you grew up? Like, what was when you were a kid and you're bashing holes and doing all this stuff? Like, did you have a vision or a dream? Did you think, what did you want to be?
I think for one point in my life, I thought I was going to be in the medical profession. I thought I was going to be a surgeon of some kind. I used to love watching all kinds of medical documentaries when I was a little kid. There used to be a show called The Operation, which was an actual operation. You know, no music, no drama. That was before reality TV became a thing, and everything kind of became so ridiculous. So I used to watch that as a kid. You know,
so you watched them opening up people. That's what you did.
Oh man, I remember the surgery. I watched like knee replacement surgeries. I remember an underbite surgery, all kinds of weird surgeries that I used to watch as a kid. And you were
like, I want to do that.
Yeah, I really wanted to do it, but alas, I wasn't very good in school. Like I'm not a gifted academic. I don't have the discipline for academics. So
Right, right.
I realized pretty much midway through high school, it's not going to happen. You know,
Okay. All right.
cooking was a bad choice for an Italian kid because, you know, all your parents and your grandparents, stuff like that, they're like, you sure you want to do that? Don't you want to finish school? Don't you want to do, you know, I pretty much, nobody in my family really was into my choice getting into cooking until about 3 years in. Up until then, they were like, you sure you don't want to go back to school? You don't want to go get that high school diploma, maybe go back to university? And I was like, nope, no chance. And now
So
they
you
don't.
you were pretty sure that that wasn't going to be your way.
Yeah,
Like you were not.
I didn't have the grades. I couldn't sit through class. I mean, it was
No,
not for
sometimes
me.
it's not about what you want. Sometimes it is you know what you can't do, and then it kind of pushes you in a certain direction, and then you zero in on something.
Yeah, I see it, man. I have a couple of friends with PhDs that did a decade plus of post-secondary, and I admire it to no end. Holy shit. But I could never do it. You couldn't pay me to do it.
Well, the $1 million question is, are they happy with the career they chose? You
They're
know,
happy.
sometimes you do, but
Yeah.
sometimes you do 10 years and then you realize it isn't what you wanted. Also, that could happen.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, some people are just very good at kind of sticking to something for a long time and not really realize because once they've invested so much into it, it's really hard to kind of come to a realization like, holy shit, maybe I got to try something else here, right? That goes with a lot of things in life. Once you invest into something for a long time, it's hard to let go of. But you know, I found that cooking and working with my hands was the most freeing thing ever. I realized, holy shit, Leo, you learn so fast and so well by doing, not by reading and taking notes. Don't get me wrong, I learned that way as well. But I learned by doing and by watching at a rate that most people can't. And that's why I became good at what I did really quickly. You know, so everybody has their thing.
And
And
did you find that the creative side of it also drove you? Because what you do is very creative.
no, I'm not. I don't even. I never really thought of it as creative. I thought of it as. I always found myself as like very good at copying things.
Mm.
I love copying things. I love looking. When I was a kid, I was a very good artist in terms of visual artist drawing.
Yeah.
But I was very good at looking at things and by memory and by sight copying them very well. So
Right.
I never considered myself very creative because I was like, I just look at something and I could recreate it perfectly. But I can't, you know, close my eyes and just
Leo, does
come up with.
that includes food then also, obviously?
Yes.
So,
So for me,
so you're looking not only with your eyes, because when you look at something, food has so much more than just visual.
yeah, smell, taste, texture. For me, a lot of the recipes that I've developed, or the pasta, even just the pasta recipes, the doughs, the texture of the doughs, all of that is all. I mean, now I consider myself a little more creative because now it's about, you know, creativity is about taking many inspirations and distilling them down into something that you think is great. Now that I'm a little further on, I realize that's kind of what I do. So I like to take the best versions of things that I've ever had, you know, and just I remember them so well. I have incredible smell memory. I could just remember what things smell like so well, or textures or flavors, and just bringing them back to life to where I'm like, oh yeah, this is what I remember. And that's kind of that's my way to create dishes and create pastas and stuff like that. I just have a great memory for flavor and food experience. And I think a lot of chefs do. I think that we cook from our hearts. From when you're cooking from your heart, it's like from a nostalgic place.
Yeah.
You're remembering something that means something to you. I'm remembering something that my grandmother made, who's now dead, that I haven't had for 8 years. And I just tweak it and tweak it and tweak it until all of a sudden I get that pang and I get that memory. I'm like,
Well,
yes.
what do you remember best when your grandmother was cooking? Can you describe a moment?
Oh, there's a lot. I would say, and I'll give you an example, an anecdote of like kind of where I realized that kind of smell memory thing and how important it is. I tried so hard to mimic my grandmother's sauce growing up. And when I moved to Italy, I was with a bunch of friends and we were in my apartment and I was like, I'm going to make my sauce like my nonna. And I put it all together and I was like, this is good, but it's missing that one little thing, and I couldn't figure it out. And one of my friends lit a cigarette in the kitchen. And then all of a sudden I tasted the sauce with the smell of cigarette. And I was like, we're there. We're at Nonna's house. I figured it out.
That's unbelievable.
It's just like, that was when I realized, like, and it's not like just like a realization, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
When all the stars align, it's a feeling. And I think that's when you recreate food that means something to you, that's what it is.
Do you know, you remind me, I like that you almost hit me. And I was fortunate to be in Chicago in Alinea. Have you ever been there?
I've never been, no.
I know of it. Yeah. So then they work on, one of the things they did, and it was really expensive, but it was worth it. They put a pillow casing on your table in front of you. So it's all about the show. And then they put the plate on the pillow casing. And as the weight of the plate pushed it down, a scent came out of the pillow casing. So you had the scent of the food and the scent that they infused in the air in the pillow casing. So it's kind of similar, just a little way more fancy.
Way more fancy.
Just light your cigarette over the pasta sauce. And
yeah, I mean, I obviously don't do that now, but that was one of those kind of moments where I realized, the kind of the power of memory and food, and why that's more important than doing fancy, just trying to be as complex and prodigious as possible. It was like, food has to communicate something more than just impeccable technique and luxury, which is the kind of the food world that I was in for so long with the fine dining. Whereas now I'm in the opposite. Now for me, it's like food has to communicate something that makes people feel like home inside. Every dish, every sauce, every dish, every salad, it's got to have a bit of that,
So what's your happy place, Leo? What's your happy place for you?
Oh, I mean, probably when I was a kid and eating, pre-divorce family, it was pretty good. Big dinners with the family and all that. That was great. And then, I don't know, probably, in my shop when everybody's vibing and we're doing like a great dish and there's a lot of people lined up and everybody's enjoying the food so much. That's a big one, Other than that, probably, a beach on an island in Italy. Yeah. Or,
Sounds pretty good to me.
Snorkeling in the Mediterranean.
Yeah. If you could instantly become an expert in anything, like anything, what would it be?
Oh, the list is long.
Give me one. Other than a surgeon.
Other than a surgeon, maybe mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Mechanical engineering. I think that's a skill set that would be never. It would never be a skill set that is not in need. I mean, anyone, you could always use a mechanical engineer on your side.
Yeah. All right, should we move to the city, Alon?
Let's go to city.
Sure, there's stuff to say there.
Leo, what's your favorite neighborhood in the city, and where do you live? Without giving the exact address.
Oh, probably Dovercourt. I love Dovercourt. I don't actually live in Dovercourt, but working in Dovercourt in that area, kind of, Bloor, Dupont, around Dufferin, Dovercourt, Ossington, like kind of up in this area here. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite park in the city?
Favorite park in the city? Man.
Do you have time to go to a park, or?
I don't go often. I would say, I don't remember the last time I went I ran through High Park, but I don't really particularly like High Park that much.
Okay, they're going on Geary there. You must know that they're doing that kind of like the High Line.
The Green Line.
The Green Line, yes. So it should be interesting, and it's just across from you, right?
Yeah, I like the Parquet. I actually like the Geary Avenue Parquet. That's a good
across
park.
from Blood Brothers.
Yeah, that was a good park.
Very nice. Favorite restaurant in the city?
Oh, that's tough. That's a tough one. I can't answer that.
You can pick more than one. Do you want to, or are you afraid to miss someone?
There's too many people that I love, and I can't list them all. I
Okay.
can't list them.
What's your best way of transporting in the city? Bike, TTC, car, walking?
Favorite is motorcycle. Probably followed by, I would say bicycle and car are kind of the same, because I love my car. I love driving in my car, so I have fun with it. But I also love biking because it's so fast and I like the exercise. You know, if it's a Saturday, when we used to do things in this city, I used to go to watch soccer games a lot down at the exhibition, and I would never dream of driving. I would always take the bicycle. We'd just like blast down Dufferin and get there in like 10 minutes. And then we'd bike up all the way uphill to work off all the beers. It was beautiful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
What's your give me so talking about City Hall, bureaucratic nightmare that you had?
Yeah. You want me to go through that?
Pick we only have 2 more hours, so pick one.
Pick one.
2 hours.
I'm joking. It's just
I'm getting sweaty.
we're almost done.
Bureaucratic nightmare, I guess. It was the toughest one was dealing with the zoning on Geary, just to get zoned to actually be able to serve food. So that took me about a year to get past, and it wasn't as complex as it really needed to be, but I was just talking to all the wrong people, and they were all in the city. You know, the amount of clerks and people on the phone in building and zoning that I spoke to that didn't have the answer for me. And then I eventually hired an ex-deputy mayor.
Yeah, I heard the name, but I wasn't familiar. So what does he do?
He consults and stuff like that. Maybe you got to bleep out his name. I don't know, but I don't care. It is what it is. I hired him as a consultant, and he said, yeah, I'll help you out with this. I'll bring it to City Hall and try to see how we can get you the B71 license, zoning and all that stuff. And he came back to me like 2 weeks later after I'd already paid him 50% and he's like, I'm sorry, Leo, I can't help you for reasons you don't want to know. You're not going to get it. You're never going to get it. I was like, are you effing kidding me? Like,
so you were flying blind for a year without papers?
Without papers, yeah.
Without the city approving your selling food there.
Yes. And then eventually I found an architect who's a great guy, who's a friend of a friend, Sean. Big ups to Sean, who helped me out with this, and Mike. And they, he's just like, I don't understand what all these guys are tripping about. He's like, I'll drop the plans. We'll get it through. We'll probably have to push it through committee of adjustment. And look, that took about 4 months. We had to do the plans, put it through committee of adjustment. That's $4,000, by the way, for businesses to do a minor zoning variance. We put it through the committee of adjustment. We got our B71 license. We're limited to like 16 square meters of retail space, but we can serve 10 people.
Do you know what annoys me so much about what you just said is that the bureaucracy stopping us from doing business and bringing life to the street. And I think today you and a couple other businesses on the street that are bringing the people there are making Geary. I know from City Hall, they bring people to Geary as a showcase to where, like as an example for an industrial
of course they do.
Kind of street. They do. I don't know if they've stopped by your place, but they've talked to us also. Yeah.
I loved it.
And then they tortured you before you were able to bloody put some people on the street.
Oh yeah. They were sending bylaw officers to my place, like looking like they were wearing flak vests with their cars and their thick rubber black boots, stomping into my place, like acting, like ready to issue me tickets and stuff, like threatening me. It was amazing. And then we open up and there's lineups outside, and then there's Christina Martins in Queens Park, let's talk about Geary Avenue. And she starts listing off, Famiglia-Baldassarre with their fresh pasta and stuff. I was like, you got the nerve. I tried to contact you, the city councilor, everybody to help me. And all you guys were like, oh, screw you. I can't help you.
Well,
but now you want to put the Baldassarre jewel on your little crown and say, look how nice the city is. Look how great and vibrant it is. It's like, yes, no thanks to you. And now the city loves Geary Avenue, and now they have all these Geary Works meetings. They want to develop it and stuff. And eventually, what's that going to mean for us? We're going to lose our spots. They're going to
That's what
develop
that
it.
what's really worries me, that it gets to
Oh,
become another Ossington, which I really hope it doesn't. I
we're
think
not
they're
too much
aware of
money in
it, but
development.
yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
hope not. I really, really hope not.
Well, look, you own the building. You're lucky.
We
I'll be
are
gone.
lucky, buddy. When we bought the building,
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself because there was another one for sale for the same amount without disclosing it. This is 4 years ago. And
Yeah.
it was ridiculous compared to what it is today. It already doubled because of whatever. So
Yeah, no, I know.
okay.
So I'm a little worried about Geary Avenue being redeveloped. And for those who don't know, guys, Geary Avenue is one of the sweetest kind of industrial strips that is an employment zone. And what that means is the reason I had trouble with zoning, which I now actually appreciate, because no one ever explained it to me, is that it is an employment zone, which means that it's supposed to be dense employment. It's supposed to be an area that promotes high density employment in manufacturing and artists and things like that. And that is so few and far between in Toronto, places like that.
I
we
think
wonder where.
Sorry, what's unique is that you walk by all these garages to get to your restaurant. You walk by, what do you have across the street from you? They're making metal makers. You have the brewery. You have who else?
Architectural fabrication, railings and aluminum places, artists.
Yeah.
You have Dave O'Sullivan down the street, one of the best mill workers in the city, right next to you guys.
And there's a gallery, and then a second floor gallery that have parties there.
Oh yeah. I mean, galleries, digital marketing companies. I mean, it's just, these are the areas where businesses like ours can start and flourish. And at the end of the day, it's almost like as soon as developers sniff out an area, they talk to the right people in the city, and no one will ever admit this, but look, money talks.
But Leo, I saw development for Geary, and you're not allowed to build high rises there. They're not, even on Dufferin. So they're trying to maintain the integrity of the street. And again, hopefully they do that. Okay.
I hope so.
Yeah. Fair. I don't want you to leave the street. So the last question for city related, and you kind of mentioned them before, but what's the charity that's closest to your heart, if you want to give them a shout out?
The one I tend to work with a lot these days, and they're the ones that we've consistently given 5% of our like lasagna and our lunch sales to since the pandemic, since about June, since we started working with Social Development Toronto. That happened mid-pandemic. After we started working with the frontline workers, we actually got in contact with Social Development Toronto, and they gave us a list of the highest priority, most food unstable areas in Toronto to put our efforts into. So that really changed our perspective on all of it, and said, wow, there's some places here we really need to pay attention to that we didn't even know existed. And then we got introduced to Albion Neighborhood Services. Albion Neighborhood Services is up in Rexdale, and they do direct outreach to homeless. They provide services for housing for homeless, and they do an incredible boys and girls services for youth. And I'm just amazed at the work they do. I mean, we would literally bring them food and bring them hot meals, and they would have their outreach workers come as soon as we arrived and pack their cars up and bring food to, areas under bridges or tent little spots where there were encampments. I mean, the direct type of relief. So they're an incredible organization, and they're part of the Rexdale Hub. And the Rexdale Hub is tied into Luma Care and some other great organizations. So I really do like, and there's more. There's LAMP, which is out in the East End in Mimico, which is another incredible organization. There's Black Creek Community Health Center, huge, another one. I mean, I could list them off, but these are the places.
Thank you.
These are the places that are doing the work. Like, these guys are doing the work.
No middle person.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So we're moving to quick fire. So a bunch of questions, and after that we'll be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Go for it.
Okay. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark chocolate.
Beer, wine, or whiskey?
Beer.
Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Lunch.
Home cooked meal or takeout?
Home cooked.
City or countryside?
Oh, countryside.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Favorite season? Yeah.
Favorite summer.
Summer. Night out or stay at home?
Night out.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning.
Bath or shower?
Shower.
When you enter the swimming pool, do you jump in or do you tiptoe slowly?
Jump.
Jump. Cat or dog person?
Dog.
Books or Netflix?
Netflix.
Phone calls or texts?
Phone calls.
And final question, Leo, music or podcasts?
Music.
Music. Okay. All right. See, that wasn't so bad, was it?
Well, Leo, thank you. We
Thank you
really
so
appreciate
much.
you, putting
Thank you, guys.
this in this time. Is there anything else we may have missed? Any message you want to let people know?
No, I don't really come into these things super prepared. I just like to talk. It's not
That's
a lot
okay.
of
Let them know where they can find you, just for those that aren't familiar
we're
with you.
located on Geary Avenue, 122. It's part of a larger factory called the Artisan Factory. Big brown building across from a parking lot and some train tracks. You can't miss the garage door in front. We don't have the greatest signage, but and it's just north of DuPont, off of Dufferin. So,
Okay.
between the tracks, there you go.
And where can they find you on social? I know you're big on Instagram.
We're on Instagram at Famiglia_Baldassarre.
Okay.
I know that's a long one, but you'll find it.
They'll find you.
And Facebook, I don't even know. I just kind of share stuff from Instagram to Facebook. So
Yeah. All
that's
right.
pretty much it. Yeah.
Instagram's your main play then.
It is the main. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool,
Thank you so
man.
much.
Thank
for
you.
being with us.
Thank you guys. That was great.
Have a great
Yeah.
night, man.
Appreciate it.
Take
Okay.
care.
Take care.
Take care.